The polluted, neon glow of the lower city casts long shadows over the reclamation and revival shop in Scrap Alley. Here, amidst mountains of discarded circuits, dented casings, and humming repair stations, 16-year-old Kaelen Reyes feels most at home. Her fingers, stained with grease and solder, move with practiced ease over the delicate wiring of a defunct service drone. This is her world, one of resourcefulness and making old things sing again. Her family, once respected engineers before the Great Relocation, that separated the spire from the alley, now survives by breathing life back into the upper spire's cast-offs. Kai's mother, Elena, carefully sifts through parts manifests, her weary eyes reflecting the constant financial strain, yet her spirit remains unbroken. Meanwhile, high above, the Apex Academy gleams under artificial sunlight. Its students, children of tech titans and scientific pioneers, glide through pristine labs, their uniform jumpsuits spotless, their tools brand new and laser calibrated. Thorne Sterling, heir to Sterling Industries, lectures his peers. Serafina Sarah Vance nodding in agreement on the inefficiency of legacy systems and the necessity of pristine components for optimal performance. He boasts of his team's access to cutting-edge fabrication tools and unlimited budgets for their designs. Kai occasionally delivers scavenged rare earth magnets or specialized old-world connectors to the Academy's maintenance bays, a task she loathes but her family relies on. During these visits, she sees the Apex students, their privileged faces mirroring Thorne's disdain, as they dismiss her with glance, their conversations about elegant algorithms and neural net architectures ringing hollow against her intuitive understanding of physical mechanics. She is a delivery girl, invisible in their world of theoretical perfection. One afternoon, during a delivery run, Kai observes a heated discussion among a group of Apex students struggling to diagnose a recurring glitch in a campus utility bot. Thorne, with a dismissive wave of his hand, insists on replacing an entire expensive power conduit. Kai, from the shadows, spots a subtle flicker in a much smaller, cheaper servo motor that Thorne's team overlooked, a telltale sign she's seen countless times in her grandfather's shop. She bites her tongue, knowing any unsolicited advice from Scrap Alley would be met with scorn. Later, as she waits for her payment, she overhears whispers about the upcoming Galactic Forge competition, the most prestigious event of the year, where the brightest minds design the next generation of interstellar maintenance and exploration bots. Thor and Sarah are the undisputed favorites, their previous designs renowned for their conceptual purity and flawless execution. Kai feels a familiar ache, a yearning to prove that ingenuity isn't solely defined by wealth or formal accreditation, but quickly pushes it down. Her place, she reminds herself, is among the discarded, not the revered. The Apex Academy's grand auditorium buzzed with anticipation. Holographic projections of cutting-edge robotic designs floated above the stage as the Galactic Forge competition was officially announced. Kai, once again on a delivery, found herself pressed against the back wall, trying to remain inconspicuous while waiting for Elena to finish a repair order for the Academy's ancient audio system. The air was thick with the scent of polished chrome and ambition. Thorne Sterling, looking immaculate in a tailored uniform, stood at the podium alongside Sarah Vance, confidently detailing their team's advanced AI protocols and custom-fabricated chassis for their planned entry. Their presentation was met with enthusiastic applause from the assembled students and faculty. The competition's central challenge was then revealed. Teams had to design, build, and program a resource extraction bot capable of navigating an unpredictable, hazardous simulated alien environment, collecting diverse materials, and adapting to unforeseen obstacles. The final phase would be a live, unscripted trial, pushing both design and programming to their limits. As the details unfolded, Kai felt a flicker of excitement. This wasn't just about raw power or theoretical perfection. It required adaptability, a knack for on-the-fly problem-solving, and a deep understanding of mechanical resilience. Areas where the scrap alley approach truly shone. As the announcements concluded, Thorne scanned the auditorium, his gaze sweeping over Kai, a smirk played on his lips. And for those less integrated into Apex standards, he announced, his voice dripping with condescension. We invite you to observe, perhaps even learn. After all, not everyone has a foundational intellect for true innovation. Sarah snickered, adjusting her pristine glasses. Indeed, she added, her voice smooth but cutting. Some might only be capable of assembling glorified broom bots from salvage parts. Imagine trying to tackle a dynamic environment with duct tape and hope. The thinly veiled insult was aimed directly at Kai, who felt a flush rise to her cheeks. She was painfully aware of her worn clothing, the grease beneath her fingernails, and the simple toolkit she carried. Another student, a lanky boy named Jackson, who often accompanied Thorne, chimed in. Maybe the scrap alley savvy can enter the junior league, designing a simple recycler bot for the campus waste chutes. Laughter rippled through the elite crowd. Kai's hand tightened around the heavy power conduit she was meant to deliver. Her mother, overhearing the jibes from the control booth, shot her a worried look, knowing that tone well. It was the same one she'd endured her entire life, a constant reminder of their family's perceived place in society. Suddenly, a quiet voice cut through the lingering laughter. I accept. All heads snapped towards Kai. She stepped forward, her bare hand still clutching the conduit, her gaze steady, meeting Thorne's surprised blue eyes. The Galactic Forge competition. I'll enter. Thorne's smirk faltered, replaced by a mixture of confusion and amusement. Really? Delivery girl? You think you can compete with the best engineers in the Spire? With what? Your grandpa's antique wrenches. A wave of snickers spread through the room. Kai simply nodded, her jaw set. With what I have, and what I know, what none of those privileged students could have imagined was that Kai carried a secret, a wisdom passed down through generations, honed in the crucible of necessity, that would turn that afternoon of planned humiliation into something none of them would ever forget. She wasn't just accepting a challenge. She was declaring war on their assumptions. The reclamation and revival shop was never truly silent. Even in the deepest hours of night, the soft hum of charging batteries, the gentle clinking of cooling metals, and the faint whisper wind through gaps in the corrugated roof filled the space. It was during these sacred hours that Kai and Grandpa Mateo worked. After Elena had retired, exhausted from the day's work, the main workshop transformed into Kai's private academy. Grandpa Mateo, his hands gnarled and wise, observed Kai as she meticulously sketched designs on repurposed data slates, her brow furrowed in concentration. They'll have all the fancy materials, Grandpa, Kai murmured, tracing the contours of a multi-jointed arm. Carbon nanofiber, self-healing alloys. I have to make this work with discarded servomotors and reclaimed titanium. Mateo nodded, adjusting his thick spectacles. And that media is your greatest strength. Anyone can build with a full pantry. A true chef makes a feast from scraps. Remember what I always say. A machine has a spirit, Kai. It tells you what it needs if you only listen. He had taught her this philosophy from a young age, sitting beside her, letting her feel the vibrations of a sputtering engine, tracing the flow of current with her finger, deciphering the silent language of gears and circuits. He spoke of his own youth in a time when engineers were menders, connecting deeply with their creations, not just coding them from afar. Their lessons weren't just about mechanics. They were about a deeper connection. When you build, Mateo would often say, you're not just assembling parts. You're giving life to an intention. You're talking to something bigger than the sum of its circuits. He had shown her how to find the soul of a discarded processor, how to coax performance out of aging components through clever routing and intuitive programming. a unique fusion of old-world practical engineering and modern coding that transcended textbook theory. He taught her to visualize the flow of data as water through pipes, the mechanical movements as a dancer's grace. This approach, born of necessity and passed down to their lineage of menders, was Kai's secret weapon. They often pulled all-nighters, fueled by strong, bitter coffee and the shared thrill of discovery. Kai's mother, Elena, would sometimes find them asleep at their workbench, an intricately designed robot arm or a self-balancing chassis taking shape between them. Though worried about Kai's exhaustion, Elena never discouraged these sessions. She knew the sting of being underestimated, of having her family's worth judged by their address. She had seen the cruel looks directed at Kai, just as she had experienced them herself. "Mom, you have to see this," Kai would sometimes whisper, pulling her mother into the shop to witness a newly resurrected drone hover with renewed grace. Elena would smile, tears welling in her eyes, remembering her own mother's pride in Mateo's craft. She understood that this wasn't just about building a robot. It was about building a future, a defiance against the judgment of the spire. "They're going to try to break you," Elena had warned Kai a month ago, sensing the growing tensions. "And when that day comes, you'll be ready to show them who you really are." She had secretly dipped into their meager savings to buy Kai a specialized, albeit second-hand, micro-welder and a rare, high-resolution haptic interface, believing in her daughter's potential with an unwavering faith that surpassed any financial concern. The day of the Galactic Forge competition dawned with a crisp, artificial chill in the Apex Academy's main arena. The vast space, typically used for zero-gravity simulations, was transformed into a bustling spectacle. Teams of students in their pristine uniforms moved with practiced efficiency, assembling their pre-designed robots at designated workstations. Each station boasted state-of-the-art diagnostic tools, fresh component racks, and holographic displays projecting intricate schematics. Kai's workstation, in a far corner, starkly contrasted. Her tools, though meticulously maintained, were visibly worn. Her components, an eclectic mix of reclaimed circuit boards, repurposed actuators, and a chassis fashioned from lightweight, salvaged aerospace-grade aluminum, looked crude next to the gleaming, bespoke parts of her competitors. Thorne Sterling and Sarah Vance commanded the central platform, their robot, Aegis, a paragon of sleek design and cutting-edge aesthetics. Its matte black shell and integrated optical sensors seemed to hum with silent power. Thorne addressed the judges and the assembled media with practiced confidence, detailing Aegis's advanced AI, its multispectral scanning capabilities, and its unique sonic lensing material collection system. Sarah, meanwhile, flawlessly coded last-minute adjustments, her fingers flying across a translucent interface. A truly optimized machine, Thorne concluded, designed from the ground up for unparalleled efficiency, free from constraints of limited resources. He cast a pointed glance in Kai's direction, a thinly veiled jab that elicited snickers from some of his teammates. The initial phase of the competition involved a static build and diagnostic check. Kai's robot, which he affectionately called Mender, appeared somewhat cobbled together. Its external plating was uneven, a patchwork of different metallic hues, and its articulated limbs moved with a less fluid grace than Aegis's. Some judges raised eyebrows, their expressions ranging from skepticism to open disdain. Dr. Eris Thorne, head of the Apex Robotics Department and Thorne Sterling's father, sat on the judging panel, his gaze initially resting on his son with a proud, proprietary air. However, another judge, Professor Anya Sharma, a renowned robotics ethicist known for her unconventional thinking, found her eyes drifting towards Kai's station. She noticed the meticulous way Kai handled each component, the almost intimate connection she had with her tools, a stark contrast to the detachment she often observed in other students who relied solely on automated fabrication. As Mender underwent his initial systems check, a junior Apex student, eager to impress Thorne, snickered loudly. Looks like a junkyard dog trying to run with wolves. Probably won't even pass basic diagnostics. Sarah, catching the comment, chuckled softly. Don't be too hard, Jackson. It's probably built to specification of a 21st century toaster. Kai, hearing the jibes, felt a familiar tightening in her chest. She ignored them, her focus absolute as she ran a final diagnostic on Mender's adaptive subroutines. She knew Mender didn't look like the others. It was designed to feel its way through problems, to adapt with a raw, intuitive intelligence that no pristine blueprint could capture. She could feel the subtle vibrations of Mender's core processor, a steady hum that was its heartbeat, ready for the trial ahead. Professor Sharma, observing Kai's quiet intensity, made a mental note, a flicker of intrigue in her analytical gaze. The competition's live trial began, plunging the arena into a simulated alien landscape. Holographic projections filled the air, depicting jagged rock formations, shifting sand dunes, and geysers spewing corrosive vapor. The challenge was simple on the surface. Collect 3 distinct mineral samples from various hazard zones within a strict time limit. But the environment was dynamically changing, requiring constant adaptation. Thorne Sterling's Aegis, with its sleek design, moved with precision. Its advanced sensors quickly identified the first mineral, and its specialized extraction arm flawlessly retrieved it. Sarah's elegant code kept Aegis moving at optimal speed, avoiding predictable obstacles. The crowd murmured in appreciation, confident in the Sterling team's inevitable victory. Kai's Mender, with its less refined appearance, started slower. Its movements were less fluid, more deliberate, as if it were truly feeling its way. Thorne and Sarah exchanged mocking glances. Look, it's waddling, Sarah whispered, adjusting a real-time analytics display. Its pathfinding algorithms are probably running on a 10-cycle processor. Then the unexpected occurred. A simulated seismic tremor ripped through the landscape, collapsing a major rock formation and rerouting a corrosive geyser, blocking the most direct path to the second mineral sample. Aegis, designed for optimal routes and predictable hazards, froze. Its advanced algorithms, having no pre-programmed solution for this specific combination of events, entered a decision loop. Thorne frantically shouted commands, while Sarah furiously tried to patch in a new subroutine. Aegis, for all its sophistication, was paralyzed by the unforeseen. Kai, however, watched with quiet intensity. She had anticipated this possibility, not through algorithms, but through Mateo's lessons. The universe is messy media. Machines need to learn to improvise, just like life. Mender didn't have Aegis's powerful sensors, but it had a different kind of intelligence. Its repurposed haptic feedback system, combined with Kai's unique, intuitive navigation programming, allowed it to process tactile and environmental cues in real time, adapting its movements like a living creature. Instead of trying to find an optimal path, Mender simply found a path. It identified a precarious, unstable route that Aegis wouldn't even attempt, scaling a crumbling wall by digging its repurposed multi-terrain treads into the shifting rock, then carefully balancing across a narrow crevice. The crowd began to stir. Dr. Eris Thorne, initially frustrated by his son's bot, now stared intently at Mender. Professor Sharma leaned forward, her eyes wide with growing fascination. Mender, though not graceful in a classical sense, moved with expressive strength, its movements telling a story of determination and ingenuity. It navigated the newly formed geyser field not by avoiding completely, but by utilizing its found materials, a discarded heat-resistant panel it had picked up earlier, as a temporary shield to push through a small, safe gap. It wasn't perfect, but it was effective. When Mender reached the second mineral, not by brute force or pre-programmed perfection, but through sheer, unconventional problem-solving, a gasp rippled through the audience. Thorne's mocking smile had vanished, replaced by a look of bewildered frustration. Sarah's fingers paused on her interface, her perfect aesthetics momentarily forgotten as she watched Mender's ugly but brilliant dance. It was clear this wasn't luck. This was a result of preparation, dedication, and a natural genius cultivated far from Apex Academy's pristine labs. The final phase of the Galactic Forge competition demanded not just resource extraction, but an on-site fabrication. Teams were tasked with constructing a small, functional environmental sensor from the collected materials, designed to monitor the atmosphere for the simulated alien planet. The instructions were vague, requiring creative interpretation and a deep understanding of component synergy. Aegis, after being reset, had managed to collect its remaining samples, but its fabrication unit was specialized for pre-designed blueprints, struggling with the open-ended task. Thorne and Sarah, used to precise parameters, found themselves floundering, their sophisticated tools useless without exact specifications. Mender, however, had been designed with adaptability as its core principle. Its multi-purpose manipulator arms, salvaged from various industrial drones, possessed a dexterity that belied their appearance. Kai, drawing on Grandpa Mateo's lessons, had programmed Mender with a basic, intuitive assembly protocol. Instead of following a rigid blueprint, Mender felt the components, recognizing their properties and potential synergies. It started piecing together the sensor, its movement slow but deliberate, testing connections, recalibrating, and even improvised with a thermal-regulated act as a rudimentary atmospheric filter. The silence in the arena was deafening. The initial snickers had long ceased. Madison, a junior engineer on Thorne's team who had previously mocked Kai, now stood with her mouth agape, her phone forgotten in her hand. Dr. Eris Thorne watched, his face a mixture of shock and growing understanding. Mender's final sensor, though not as elegantly encased as an Apex prototype might be, was functional. When activated, a small, steady light pulsed, indicating it was successfully detecting the simulated atmospheric changes. Kai had finished, not because Mender was exhausted, but because she felt she had proven her point. Her small, callous hands rested on the console, her eyes scanning the faces around her. Madison was the first to break the silence, her voice a barely audible whisper. How? How did you do that? My team couldn't even get the power routing right, without the exact specs. You just made it work. Another student chimed in. I've never seen a bot adapt like that. It's like it had common sense. Professor Sharma's voice cut through the stunned murmurs, laden with a reverence she rarely displayed. Kai, Kaelen Reyes, we need to talk. What you just did, that's not normal. That's exceptional. Elena, who had watched from the control booth, quickly made her way to Kai, wrapping her arms around her daughter's small shoulders. Estoy orgulloso de ti, mija, she whispered in Spanish, tears streaming down her face. Tu abuelo estaría tan orgulloso. Your grandfather would be so proud. Thorne, looking utterly deflated, finally found his voice, though it sounded small and vulnerable. I'm sorry, Kai. We didn't know that you had this gift. Kai met his gaze, her dark eyes steady. That I was what? Different from you? Yes, I am. And that's exactly why Mender can do things you never imagined possible. Professor Sharma interjected, her gaze fixed on Kai. Kaelen, would you be interested in formal lessons here at Apex? Because after what I just witnessed, I can guarantee that any academy in the sector will be falling over themselves to have you as a student. Elena, ever practical, interjected gently. Professor, we can't afford the tuition here. I work cleaning these facilities because I need to support my daughter, not because I choose to. Full scholarship, Sharma replied instantly, without hesitation. Private lab access, participation in advanced research, everything. A mind with this kind of natural talent cannot be wasted because of financial issues. The sound of hesitant applause began, coming from Madison herself. She clapped slowly, her eyes red. "In all my years of engineering," she said, her voice thick, "I have never witnessed such an impressive display of raw ingenuity. Kai, you're truly amazing." One by one, the other students, including Thorne and Sarah, began to clap. It wasn't the condescending applause Kai knew so well, but genuine recognition from those whose worldview had been irrevocably shattered. Jackson, who had mocked her earlier, hesitantly approached, holding out his datapad. Can I post a video of this? Not as a joke. Like inspiration. I think the world needs to see this." Kai nodded, a small smile touching her lips. "You can post it. But make sure the title tells the truth. Real talent has no social class, no elite address, and definitely can't be bought with expensive components." 3 months later, Jackson's video, titled "Scrap Alley Genius Disrupts Apex Academy. Real Innovation Knows No Privilege," had gone viral with over 20 million views across the Galactic network. Kai Reyes, the delivery girl, was now the youngest and most talked about rising star in the engineering world. Apex Academy was never the same again. Not only did Professor Sharma fulfill her promise of a full scholarship for Kai, but she also initiated a complete overhaul of the Academy's admissions program. After witnessing what Kai did, Sharma explained in a National Hollow interview, "I realized our academy was wasting extraordinary talent because of prejudices disguised as standardized criteria and aesthetic preferences. We were valuing pedigree over pure potential." Thorne Sterling, who had previously considered himself the undisputed future of Sterling Industries, now found himself sharing the main research lab with Kai on groundbreaking projects. The experience had been deeply humbling at first, but ultimately transformative. "Kai taught me that being the best isn't about having the newest tech or the perfect blueprint," Thorne confessed on his personal blog, which now focused on promoting diversity in STEM. "It means being authentic, resourceful, and connecting with the very heartbeat of what you're building, something far bigger than just code." He found himself often seeking Kai's intuitive advice, marveling at her ability to solve problems by simply listening to the machine. Serafina Vance, initially resistant to Kai's unconventional methods, became one of Kai's most fervent advocates. She began to use her formidable coding skills to develop open-source adaptive algorithms, inspired by Mender's on-the-fly problem-solving. Her social media platforms, once dedicated to showcasing pristine Apex designs, now actively promoted other unconventional young talents from underserved sectors. The video of Kai's triumph was used in engineering schools across the globe as an example of how true talent transcends social barriers and formal training. Elena Reyes was promoted ahead of technical procurement and logistics at Apex Academy, with a salary that allowed the family to move into a spacious, light-filled apartment in a mid-level district, bridging the gap between Aspire and Scrap Alley. More importantly, she was invited to teach a new, foundational reclamation and intuitive engineering workshop, sharing with a new generation of Apex students the cultural richness and practical wisdom passed down through her family. The Apex Academy implemented the Kai Reyes Initiative, a full scholarship and mentorship program specifically geared toward young people from marginalized communities who demonstrated raw talent and a passion for engineering. Kai, despite her young age, became an official mentor for the program, helping other children who, like her, had been underestimated by society. In less than a year, Kai had spearheaded 3 award-winning community projects, applying her unique blend of advanced robotics and resourceful ingenuity to solve critical infrastructure issues in the lower city. Critics began to talk about a new wave of engineering, one that combined cutting-edge technology with practical, empathetic problem-solving. Kai's story reached the ears of directors at the Galactic Interstellar Federation's Advanced Research Division, who offered her a position in their Young Innovator program. Elena and Kai visited the Federation's orbital station, where Kai had the opportunity to meet legendary engineers who shared similar stories of overcoming adversity and challenging systemic prejudice. During an interview with Cosmic Tech magazine, Kai was asked how she dealt with the pressure being a symbol of change in the world of advanced engineering. "I don't build to prove anything to anyone," she replied with a maturity that surprised everyone. "I build because it's who I am. It's how I understand the world, how I solve problems, how I connect. If that inspires other people to pursue their dreams, then my work has an even greater purpose." The most significant transformation, however, took place at Apex Academy itself. The environment that had once been dominated by toxic competitiveness and social exclusion became a vibrant space for collaboration and the celebration of diverse thinking. Students from different backgrounds, with varied approaches to engineering, now work together, each bringing their unique authenticity to the art of creation. The spotless labs were now often gloriously messy, filled with experimental rigs and the creative chaos of innovation. Elena watched Kai's advanced robotics class with tears in her eyes, remembering Grandpa Mateo's words, echoing her grandmother's wisdom. "La máquina es el language del alma, Michigan Hija. Cuando el alma habla, todos escuchan." The machine is the language of the soul, my daughter. When the soul speaks, everyone listens. A year after that transformative competition, Kai received an invitation to participate in the International Young Innovators Gala on Neoterra. She would be the official representative of the Human Federation, an honor reserved for the sector's most promising talents. The girl who was once called out to build a broombot, as a joke, would now represent humanity on the most prestigious scientific stage in the known galaxy. The night before her trip to Neoterra, Kai returned to the old reclamation and revival shop and scrap alley where it all began. Alone in the space that had once witnessed her quiet desperation, she worked one last time before the big presentation. It wasn't a complex, multifunctional bot she was building, but a simple, elegant piece of functional art, a small, kinetic sculpture made entirely from salvaged parts, designed to mimic the intricate movements of a blooming flower. It was a silent conversation with all the children who, like her, dreamed of proving they belonged in places where others said they had no place. Kaelen Kai, Reyes' story proved that true genius knows no social class, no elite address, and no aesthetic standards imposed by society. More importantly, it showed that when we face prejudice with dignity, authenticity, and profound preparation, we not only achieve personal triumph, we transform the world around us, dismantling old barriers and creating new spaces where others like us can dream bigger than we ever thought possible.